Hey everybody, Stephen Bogran here from Pro Physique, and today I'm talking about fat loss's best kept secret.
My name is Steven, and this is our video about health and fitness things. And I work for Pro Physique, and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
Alright, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Unless you don't want to have a wonderful day, and in that case, do what you want. Live your life. Don't let me tell you what to do. But, what if what you want to do is to lose more body fat? What if what you want to do is to have an easier time hitting your macros? What if what you want to do is break through that weight loss plateau? What if you want less stress in your life? What if you want the ability to concentrate better in your life? What if? I'm done. All right, let's talk about it. What if we freaking slept better? Oof, that's a big one. So today what I want to talk about is how sleep impacts your physique goals. Because there are a few different ways that it can absolutely do that. And it's important that we discuss and understand sleep's role in terms of fat loss, energy, metabolism, and all the other wonderful things that getting a good night's sleep can benefit us with. So when we talk about sleep's role, really one of the big things we're talking about is normal circadian rhythm. Sleep-wake cycle, when we see daylight, when we take caffeine in, and when we do maybe some of these other things. But it's very important that we understand why sleep has such an important role. And so when we talk about weight loss, fat loss, calorie expenditure, hitting our macros, sticking to our diet, sleep is pivotally important. And so today, obviously one of the big things I was reading was a piece of research that was looking at a lot of different studies on sleep. And it was looking at how that impacted, because we have known that there's this correlation between sleep and weight loss for a long time. However, sometimes it can be really nice to maybe have a little bit more of an understanding there. So some of the studies that they were looking at showed that people who slept more were more efficient at burning body fat. And for those of you that are like, Steven, but calories in, calories out, right? Yes, calories in, calories out, but it also can affect your metabolic rate, your metabolism, okay? So it will matter in terms of how we do with what they call our RQ, or respiratory quotient, okay? What that is simply doing is telling us how much of our metabolic burning is coming from carbohydrates versus fat. And people who slept better, that RQ number was more in favor of people burning more body fat as an energy substrate, as opposed to necessarily burning carbohydrates. So that is one big one for us right there. But what else, Stephen? Yes, okay, cool, but calories in, calories out, if I burn the same amount of calories, doesn't it not matter? A lot of these studies that they're looking at are in fact also showing that people who get more sleep, even if they lose the same amount of weight or a similar amount of weight, are losing more body fat within that weight. It also shows some other really cool things, talking about the fact that how our hunger signaling is set up is also highly impacted by stress. So when we talk about hunger signaling and some of our main hunger hormones, we're talking about normally leptin and ghrelin. Oof. And so we'll keep it to those ones because there are a couple other ones, but they're a little bit more in depth. And, okay, that's probably too much for this video. But we see that leptin and ghrelin can in fact get turned into a less favorable position to where we are feeling hungrier and our food choices are more calorie dense. Woo-wee! Now, this is even in opposition to like, hey, we're getting leaner. Because as we get really lean, for those people that are going crazy and getting stage lean and real low body fat levels, they're gonna have kind of some funky hunger signaling anyways. But this is in people that are just getting to normal weight. We see this kind of discourse here now starting between leptin and ghrelin. Leptin blocking our hunger signaling, ghrelin giving us the hunger signaling, which is creating this situation where people are now over-consuming calories. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was roughly around, I think it was 270 to 300 calories per day was the average extra calorie intake that they were seeing from there. Whoa! So sleep is important for a couple of main reasons. So we'll just get into that in terms of the hormones that are in play. Obviously, cortisol is going to be a factor here as well, all of your stress response stuff. But what they're really looking at in these studies is not only sleep length, but sleep quality. Sleep quality. So they're looking at the amount of hours that you get to sleep, as well as, is that sleep actually quality? Are you waking up a lot throughout the night? Are you actually getting into your deeper sleep? Are you getting enough of each type of sleep? And so what the study is saying is that essentially you should be looking at probably at least 7 hours of sleep per night. Really, it seemed to look like 7.5 hours was a good average sweet spot for most people to be in a better spot to lose body fat, to feel better, and to have normal hunger signaling. Wow. Which means anybody who was getting under, I believe it was that 6 to 7 hour range, was going to have more issues losing body fat, performing in the gym, paying attention at work, hitting any kind of macronutrient or energy nutrient goals that they have for their intake. And we saw that those people were having a harder time losing weight. So the secret, the unknown secret to this fat loss is get a good night's sleep. We talk a lot about how do we track macros and how do we work out and what's the right way to do this and what's the right way to do that. We also talk about stress management. It's super important that we understand sleep is in fact a huge part of stress management. And even with just a few days, less than a week of sleep deprivation, we did see a change in how people lost body fat and their hunger signaling. So it's really important that we understand this, especially in a society like ours in this day and age where the demand is so high for all of our time, where we have lights and sounds and phones and iPads and all the other things. So how do we get more sleep? It's obviously we're talking about, oh yeah, it's important. Okay, Stephen, I get it. Shut up. But how do I make it better? How do I make it better, bro? Well, there are a few ways that we can make sleep better. First and foremost, the one that I really like is utilizing stress management right before we go to bed. This might mean taking 10, 15 minutes using something like the Calm app and just getting some guided meditation in to bring the stress response down, to relax the traps and the shoulders and the from the day, to really just get into a good groove there. So sometimes it can be that stress management, okay? Of course, caffeine intake is a big part of that. Making sure that we are limiting caffeine intake later in the day so that it's not negatively impacting our ability to sleep. That's a big one. Maybe something like blue light blockers or managing how much screen exposure that we get later on in the day. This can be another thing that we can do to help with circadian rhythm and sleep signaling, all right? And of course, one of the big ones that I think a lot of us might not like to hear is exercise. This is going to be individually dependent. And so remember, there's always going to be individual nuance for all of us in terms of how we respond to these things. But for some people, if you are exercising later on in the day, and particularly any exercise that's maybe moderate to higher intensity, that can absolutely release some of those epinephrines, right? Oh, ooh, we're going at it, right? And that can impact our sleep. That can get us awake longer. So it's really important that we manage these things. But some of us, maybe it's like, hey Stephen, well how do I wake up earlier? How do I set my schedule? And there are some simple tips and tricks for that too. One is when you wake up, withhold caffeine an hour to an hour and a half. Your cortisol levels should be rising up earlier on in the morning like that anyways, which should help to wake us up. Okay, so if you can delay caffeine for an hour to an hour and a half, that can absolutely help us to set that normal cycle and rhythm. Some other things that we can do to help is get some exercise earlier on in the day. Sometimes what I will do is literally wake up, come down, and I'll get on the treadmill for 20 minutes. I get my body moving. I'm getting blood flow going. That can also help us to really get in that routine for setting our sleep-wake cycle and our timing in the morning. One other one is obviously sunlight and UV exposure. This is another thing that can be really beneficial. So if you can combine these things all together, then you're really in a good spot to really start getting that sleep-wake cycle and the wake part of it into a better spot. Now, I know I'm going over, and I know that's a lot, so I'm going to end it here, y'all. The secret is sometimes sleep.